Welcome to Family Matters. Tonight we have Darren and Josie Harell with us, and they're going to be talking about fatherhood. It's a really exciting topic. Darren and Josie are the parents of 3 young children, and they're going to share their story about Darren's journey as a father. Becoming a father is easy, but being a father is so much harder. It's a life-changing task. So tonight, listen up, because it's a really exciting journey. I know you're going to enjoy it. I've enjoyed our discussions so far, and that we had the other day. And be inspired to fulfill your God-given role as a parent, and especially as a father of the children that God has given you. So that's what's happening tonight. Welcome, Darren and Josie.
Hello.
Hello, thank you.
So just before we start, I wanted to do a quick Bible reading, and this one comes from Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 31, and it says this: as Moses was just about to lead them to the point of the promised land, he said to Israel, "There you saw how the Lord your God carried you through the wilderness, as a father carries his son all the way until you reach this place." I just thought that was a really neat introduction to fatherhood. God carrying his son out of Egypt through the wilderness to the brink of the promised land. And that's our job as fathers, really. So, tonight we're talking about fatherhood. So, I'm going to start with you, Josie. Oh, Sharon's going to start with you, Josie, because she's got an extra question.
Actually, this is a combined question, really, and it's just kind of setting the scene a little bit, because you're the parents, as Robert said, of 3 beautiful children. Can you just tell us a little bit about them, their ages, and what parenthood is like in your family?
Okay, well, we've got Mia, who is 7, she's our firstborn, and Hudson, who is 5, and Lacey, who is 2 and, well, coming up 2.5, I suppose. Yeah. So
still in the quite young stages of childhood.
Yeah, they are really. Yeah.
And you haven't mentioned the hair colour yet.
Oh, why would I? It's all right.
Yeah, that was another one we were going to talk to you about too, wasn't it?
It's very important that we get that across.
Training redheads.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's always challenges that go with a very young family. Has parenthood been an easy step for you guys?
Well, I think, like, to start with, we really wanted to have children, and we were really ready to have them, as ready as you'll kind of ever be, I suppose. I was working as an early childhood teacher with babies, so yeah, I was quite keen to have our own. So Mia was born when we were in Gore, and it was really good. We both really enjoyed it, and enjoyed having a little baby at home. She didn't sleep much at night, but that was kind of okay because we just had the one, so I could sleep in the day and things, and still get stuff done as well at other times, so that was quite good. And then we moved to Auckland, and then we had Hudson, and that's probably when things started getting a bit more challenging for us, because he didn't like sleeping at night much either, and which is fine because Mia had been the same, but then Mia was there as well, so so I couldn't I just remember, I don't remember much actually. I was just tired all the time, so
sleep deprived for a whole year,
like a long time.
Josie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was having to rely on Darren a lot more than I had to.
Yes.
With first one, and then and then Lacey came along and she didn't sleep much either, and so it was just then that was kind of another thing again that I was having to rely on you a lot more than previously as well. So I mean, we enjoyed it, but those were probably the challenging times for sure.
Yeah.
So did you have certain expectations of before children as to what Darren's role as a father would be like?
Not really. Like, I certainly didn't really kind of think, oh, I think he'll do this, this, and this. I think, like, looking back, you probably assume they're probably going to do what your own dad did, actually, because that's kind of the model you've got to go off.
That's very true. Yeah.
Oh, that's a high bar.
So Dad, like,
good call, Darren, because I think they're listening.
My own dad, he was quite involved with us, so I guess probably inadvertently I would definitely would have put that on Darren. But I guess, like, really getting into it, I just thought we'd get into, like, we'd do it together, like, just participation, like, we'd just do things together, like make decisions together and share it, be the dad and the mum. That's about as far as I really thought in terms of who would do what.
Yeah. And Darren, did you have any expectations yourself about what fatherhood might look like?
Oh, on the surface, I just thought I would be this super dad. How you see in the ads where you've got dad lifting up the child on the beach in the sunset and all those. I sort of thought, like, it's wonderful to be a dad. I think I had those sort of visions going, dad stuff, dad's great. But I didn't really see between the lines, and I didn't recognize the challenges in it whatsoever, and I was not prepared to deal with that, and I didn't respond particularly well to some of those challenges, and so I wasn't that amazing father that I thought I was to start with. But certainly I kind of felt like this is right. I need to be a dad. It's something that we do. I've actually got a colleague who works in Wellington. I was talking to him one day, and he was talking to me about, I've decided that I probably won't have kids. And that really shocked me, because I was like, oh, I never thought that. Like, that was always a thing for me. Like, it was just a step, you buy a house, you get a wife, and you have kids. It was locked in. Yeah. But far out. I didn't realize how much I needed to learn.
Yeah. So was it a bit of a shock to the system?
Not initially, actually, because one child and a very active, wonderful mum, very much more cushier situation to deal with. And if I'm honest, my single life definitely overlapped my marriage life and early family life, without a doubt. So in some ways, I didn't notice much at all. I was still well into my hobbies and my cars and my houses, my housework and that. And then Mia was there and Josie was there, and they were just in addition to that. And I didn't really change heaps. They were just added on to what was already happening. And I thought it was good. This was great.
Yeah.
And the more kids that came along, the more it ramped up and things changed. Yeah.
So did sort of parenthood then help make you resent the time you were losing doing your hobbies and your cars and your house and your, all the other stuff that you were trying to do?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that, actually, because I wasn't prepared for that, really. Having said that, I did have an uncle who said to me, perhaps when Josie was pregnant with our first child, now, Darren, make sure you finish all your projects before the baby comes. You won't have any time to do any of your projects. This is it now. I was listening to him, and I thought, oh yeah, we'll see about that. I thought, Oh, we'll take that. I'll take that as a challenge, actually. I reckon I can fit a lot more in than you think, sort of thing. I just thought, what? Why is things going to change that drastically? And it certainly didn't. And I wasn't prepared for that, really, even though my uncle had told me that. And people had said, oh, there's another thing that people said. You get married, that's 50% of your time. You have kids, that's the last 50, you know, that's it. No time. And I was sort of, wow, what's that about? Really? I'm sure you can squeeze more stuff in. So yeah, I was really pushing those boundaries and those thoughts and those words of wisdom that were coming from people. I thought, no, I can fit more into that. So when the baby started coming, they started filling my time a bit more. Yeah, the projects went on the back burner for sure, absolutely. And I started to feel like, oh, I didn't achieve as much today as I didn't, and I'm a wee bit annoyed about that as I wanted to. I'm a bit annoyed, yeah, totally.
Yeah. So at one point, the light switched on because you were sort of, you know, you were trying to do all these other things, you know, a little bit resentful, and the light switched on. What happened? When was that? What caused it?
Well, it wasn't a moment too soon, really, when this light switched on that you speak of. It was probably only last year, and it was kind of around the time of COVID. And what happened in COVID, as you all know, is lockdowns happened. And at that point, we had the 3 kids. And so Mum was stuck at home with 3 kids, and one of which, our eldest, was at school. So there was like an extra challenge of schooling Mia as well. And so although Mum started really strong, and she did wonderfully well, she had a schedule written up on the blackboard and the day was run really well, the wheels started to fall off because there was a huge amount of pressure on her. And here's the thing, I was still working, so I didn't get locked down. Nothing changed for me. I got to go out and do my day. So I would come home and I would see a really stressed out family, more than I'd ever seen before. Because it was just ongoing and it was compiling, and I was just like, oh, this is not good. And to the point where I was like, I don't know what I'm going to expect when I get in the door. You know, Josie was starting to get beside herself, and the kids were anxious. They couldn't get out. Josie couldn't get out. Yeah. And it was really hard. And I started to think, I've got to do something. Like it's on me. There's something has to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, to put that lockdown in perspective, I think, pardon me, yeah, Lacey, she was still, she would have been about 15 months at that point, and so she was still getting up a few times a night, and the other kids were getting up a few times a night, so it was not uncommon. Like I was still kind of getting up about 6 times a night during lockdown, and then having to do my day as well, you know. And yeah, she wouldn't sleep in the day or anything, Lacey, much either, not reliably. So
yes,
once again, I was really tired. Like, yeah, and it's such a building block state of life, isn't it? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was probably,
it's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do things look like for you now then, Darren? You come home, you've got a stressed out wife, you've got children that are all feeling uptight. How did you change your game up? What did it look like now?
Well, this is a story really of, not about Super Dad for sure. If you've tuned in to see Super Dad, then you can turn off. It's about a change in focus. It's about a realization of a role that I needed to fill that was right in front of me, and that realization has happened, is still happening, and it's a real good shift. Now, I think on the outset, it probably doesn't look hugely different what I'm doing before and after, let's say COVID, but it's with my heart's more in it now. If you like, I'm wanting to own the role more. Before I was a dad who did dad jobs, and I felt like I was pretty active, and I was there playing with the kids. I love playing with kids. I love telling stories. But the difference now is I look at the kids' faces and I go, and let's just say when I'm reading them a story, which I'd like to do, I look at their faces now and I go, are you getting this? No, are you getting this story? Is there something, is there a lesson that's sinking in? Because if not, I'm going to change it up. Before it was more like, I'll get the story done and then you're off to bed and I've got my evening.
Yes.
Done. Yep. So now I look at the kids, and this is quite solid for me now. I look at them and I make sure that when I'm telling them the story, when I'm teaching them something, when I'm talking to them, that they're getting it. And if they're not, I do something about it, and I invest whatever. I'm more invested in that and trying to own all the little jobs that I used to do more. Because I look at their little faces now and I go, these kids need my strength. They need to be loved and they need guidance. They've got a lot to learn. And I've just had that realization ever increasingly in recent times.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's really cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely like to, oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I definitely like to, say that, Darren, I mean, he's always been very good with the kids. He's always spent, a lot of time playing with them and like holding them as babies and, cradling. He'd get up in the night sometimes if it was really bad. If we'd had a few nights of really bad sleep, he'd be up as well. So he was always active, in that regard. But it probably is more of a shift of doing it out of duty, I suppose, because you're a dad and that's what you do, to really being present and enjoying it more, as like really enjoying it and really cherishing the time more and just getting it done.
No, it's really beautiful.
So instead of doing it out of rote, now it's out of love, really.
That's exactly right. And that's all about fulfilling that role rather than just finishing the job. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, from what we understand, part of this journey has come through a study that you've done on the Hebrew word for father. Can you share us a bit of your insights on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Robert, did you guys, Robert Shane, did you want me to share that on the screen and just a couple of PowerPoints on that, or we can talk about it? I've been looking at the Hebrew, and this is something that came to me. It was well before COVID, well before my realization, so it was there in my background, there in my mind, so it was actually really helpful when I needed it. It's about a literal understanding of the Hebrew word father and mother, for that matter. But what can give this more power is if we talk about the English understanding of the word father, which is a male parent. That's it.
Okay.
Wow.
So
okay.
I don't want to go on and on about it.
That's quite broad. That's actually a really easy role to fulfill.
When a baby is born, you're a dad.
You're a dad.
And
that's it.
There we go.
Story.
Done. Job done.
Yeah.
And so it's so weird. Like when you're in the delivery room, particularly if it's your first baby, the nurses hand you the baby, and the one thing that they love to do is like say, "Oh, congratulations, Dad." They love to say that. "Oh, you're a dad now. There you go, Dad." And they hand you the baby or whatever. And they love saying that because they know, well, it's a special moment because you're a dad now. But actually, what am I? I'm like the same dude. I'm holding a baby now, and I've got no idea what to do. And so am I a dad? So in the Hebrew, let's have a look at that, really. Let's have a look. Easy to become a dad in the English.
Yep.
Well, this is a bit all over the show. I'll just bring all this up properly. Okay, so on the right is the modern Hebrew way of writing the word dad, and it's the first two letters of the alphabet, actually, the letter Aleph and Bet, and you pronounce it Ab, or Av, as they say it. Now, the Hebrew originally wasn't written like that. That's an evolution, and perhaps a couple of evolutions. So if you go back to early Hebrew, it was pictorial. And the interesting thing about the Hebrew language is that each letter isn't just phonetic, which means that the letter tells you the way you say it. It also means something. Each letter has its own individual meaning. So if you break down a word like father, particularly a root word like father, you can get a literal understanding of it by looking at each individual letter. And so this is how the word father was written, with this ox head first as the letter aleph, and then
Yes.
as this funny little diagram of a tent. Now that's actually a tent. It's the plan view looking down on sort of like the basic square boundaries of a tent, and that's what that is. Now the
we're reading from right to left, aren't we?
That's right. That's
Hebrew.
the Hebrew way. Yes, confusing, but that's right. So strength first, which the ox head represents. It is strength. And
Right.
the other one is a house or a tent. Now, the interesting thing about the Hebrew is that we know their language came from their culture and who they were. And who they were was nomadic, agricultural, and they lived in the wilderness. Right, so here's some things already that we can see that come up. There's some agricultural in the ox head, and here's their nomadic lifestyle in their house, in their tent they lived in, right? So anyway, this is what it is. This is the Hebrew word father, and if you take the literal understanding, you've got the strength of the house. Now, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
You know, the Hebrew language is all about action. It's all about like what you can experience. And this word av is actually descriptive of tent poles, right? So you can see how that works. The tent poles holds up the tent. And so if the children of Israel want to get in touch with what it is to be a father, they look at the tent pole and they go, there's dad. He's holding up the house. There's the strength of this house, you know? And so that is the visual way, the action way of kind of understanding what the father is about. So yeah, it's astonishingly powerful. And so this was already bouncing around in my head when I come to the realization that I've got this role as a father. And then I come to this and go, the strength of the house. And I look at myself and I go, I'm not the strength of this house. Far be it. How am I the strength of this house? Like, what does that mean to be the strength of the house? And so
I can understand those thoughts.
It's just like, what does it look like to be the strength? And so, I don't know, I can see in little ways that I pick up the kids if they sprain an ankle or they graze a knee. And I can see little things like that. Yeah, I'm there, I can do that. But the strength of the house to hold the whole system together. And if it all turns to custard, if it all falls over in some way, all eyes are going to be looking at the dad. All eyes are going to be looking at the father. And what's the father going to do? How's he going to step up and hold the family? And that kind of struck me as I am nowhere near this as a father. This is certainly a role I need to grow into. And how do I do it? It is beyond me. This is actually quite huge. How can I be this strength?
Yeah.
So in an ever increasing way, I realize I need to draw from God as the father who is the strength of the house.
Yeah. What an awe-inspiring role that is. Isn't that beautiful?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that's like it's an amazing role to look up to, but it's quite scary when you're there and you go, that's my role, you know, the strength of the house. It's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
You're holding up the tent for everyone.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's bigger than me. And
Yeah. So how has this journey been progressing along?
Step by step, looking at each moment, taking each moment. I'm not getting it right every time. I still want to do my jobs. I've had some fails where I had a job in mind to do one Saturday, and I was expecting Josie to take the kids away for an hour, and I was like, that's my hour. I knew that hour was in my head for the whole week, actually, and I prepared to do the job for the whole week. And then when it came down to it, Josie was like, no, you've got the two kids. I'm just going to take Mia. And I just about lost it. So the key is, for me, is to have low expectations on everything else that isn't fatherhood. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
the lower the expectations that I have, the better I am as a person in terms of my projects and my jobs. And
Yes.
now, you know, if I know I can't quite finish a job, or if I just get a small part of the job done, wow, great, good job, man. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm actually happy with it. So I think the key is to lower your expectations. I set
Yes.
myself up for a fall totally by thinking that I had that hour on Saturday. I didn't communicate well with Josie. So step by step, things like that. Lower expectations on jobs, don't expect too much, and know that the priority is that I have to father my children. I need to be there, whether it's just when they're just need some one-on-one time or some playtime, or I need to be there when it's story time, or I need to be there when there's trouble. Yeah. But it's still really hard to kind of pick those moments and see those opportunities, and that's where I need mum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you've shared with us some beautiful insights from Moses' dad's life. Can you share that with our group here?
There's still a bit more to do. You can do it later.
Oh.
So yeah, absolutely. I've been looking at the name of God, and of course spending some time at the burning bush. Naturally, that's where I was, and something popped up to me, or was revealed to me in this what I'm calling an introduction, God's introduction to Moses at the burning bush. And it's something God said to Moses that kind of blew my mind and serves me as kind of inspiration, really, to fill this role as a father. And it's where God made the statement to Moses, I am the God of your father. And then it's, I'm the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob. And it hit me, and I was like, I've never seen that before. Is God talking about Moses' actual dad there? And I've done some work on it, and I'm very convinced it absolutely is. There is a couple of challenges around that, but I've seen too much. There's too much supporting evidence that God is connecting himself with his father, with Moses' father saying, I'm the God of your dad. And I'm seeing the statement, and I think, wow, how much do I want that? How much do I want God to approach my children by way of introduction and say to them, I'm the God of your dad?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's huge, isn't it? Like for me, that's excellent. I mean, I want that badly. And it's a vision of what I want. And the vision continues when I consider my children's response. And they might say, you know, wow, if you're the God of my dad, you know, then I really want to get to know you. In a way, God is saying here, you kind of already know me, Moses, because you know your dad.
Yeah.
And that's a way it's a way that God introduces himself to people through people, and no more so than through the model of parenthood and children. So we have this job, and it's not a job, it's a role, to bring our kids to God, so that God may be able to say to them, you know, I'm the God of your dad. You know, and God is this invisible, almighty creator, massive, monumental. How can we as parents bring our kids to this creator? You know, that's where I see how do I fill this role. So we've got to be able to bring God into our house and show our kids what he's like. So he's not foreign to them. And so they recognize him later in life. They can see his hand, and it's all familiar to them. They know of God's love, and they know of his care and all that sort of stuff, because they know their parents. So that's massively inspirational for me. That's those statements in Moses. And having said that, it's not the only time that's said. God also says to Isaac, I'm the God of your dad. And God says to Jacob, I'm the God of your dad. So yeah, it's a statement that is said, not too much, but it's in the Bible. Yeah.
And I love the fact too that the influence of Amram not only influenced Moses, but he also had Aaron and Miriam as well, just right up there as leaders in the people who are obviously influenced by Amram and Jochebed.
I know, and the man Amram, do we know much about him? Do we hear much about him? No, but we know of his results because we know his kids, you know, and that's how I see it. Out of the house of Amram and Jochebed came 3 kids, and they were prominent kids, they were important kids, and they were so needed in the camp of Israel. And Miriam she was a leader of worship. She led the worship after the Red Sea. We know Aaron was the high priest and Moses was Moses. So how important was Amram? And we don't know nothing about him. And we know that he lived his life in slavery, in the bondage of Egypt. And I mean, it was a very unglamorous thing. As I said, we don't know anything about him. He could be very resentful for what happened, but in the end, he brought some children to God, and they became, you know, such wonderful servants later on. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Josie, you were going to share a little bit more with us from earlier. Can you share that now?
Oh, what was I going to share earlier?
Was there something that came to mind?
What did come to mind?
What was the question again?
Yeah, what was the question?
It was probably around, Darren's role and you know, how he was stepping into this new role and just a new perspective, really, I guess.
Yeah, I might have, well, I just touched on it briefly. Yeah, just that he had always been active, as a dad. It wasn't like he was solely just focused on what was like jobs outside or preparing talks for the meeting or doing whatever. He'd always he'd always do whatever he needed to do, and if I ever asked him to do something, like he'd definitely always do it. And like he'd do it willingly, but I think for him, the shift, he's definitely a lot more present in doing those things now. There's definitely a lot more meaning behind your interactions with the kids now than previous.
Can I show you briefly the role of a mum?
Yeah.
Because it's on the next slide, and this has been really helpful for me as well, and us. Got all this. So it's the word for M, and it starts with the same letter, and the letter Aleph, which is strength, the picture of the ox, and then the next letter is the letter Mem, which is actually water or chaos. A little bit more challenging to bring that together in terms of the literal understanding, but you can go strong water. And so, it's actually really cool here when you think about water. How important was water to people who lived in the wilderness? You know, it was life-giving. So the mum kind of carries this idea of strong life, the bringer of life in some ways. You know, she bears the children. It sort of has the idea of bearing a birth. And the other thing is about the glue, because the way they produced glue was boiling cattle hides in water, and the stuff that came to the top was processed and to become glue, which is strong water. And so to me, that's one of the best things that I see mum as the glue of the family. She bonds it
that's
together.
beautiful. That's strong.
So
how cool is that?
The father's the tent pole, and the mother's the glue that holds everything together around that tent pole.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and the way I see Josie activating that is the way that she has the connection with all the kids way better than me. She knows the kids better than me emotionally. And so when I come in the door, sometimes Josie will say to me, now, Hudson's had a really tough day today, so I need you to be a bit more sensitive for him, or maybe prop him up. give him some advice or give him some encouragement. Or she might say, well, Hudson actually got a certificate today, so you need to kind of give him some praise. Or if she sees me playing with the kids and one kid feels a little bit left out, I don't notice that, but Josie will say, oh, it looks like Mia's feeling a little bit left out, you might have to include her or do something with her later. This is all happening because she's the glue.
She's the glue.
And yeah, and I don't see any of this because she's just way more aware because of her ability, and this is how I see her strength coming in. And so it's really valuable. She's always giving me this feedback, and I need that. And so one of the things that dawned on me that's the most valuable thing I could offer in terms of how to be the strength of the house is offer strength to the glue. Because the glue is so good, right? So give her encouragement and make sure if she's looking like she's starting to lose it a little bit because everything's becoming too much, then try and ease her load and take the little girl away because it's been a tough day. She's always been at her feet, or take the kids away for a bit, or just help out in whatever way you can, so ease the load. Because as a father, the strength of the house, you want the glue to stay intact.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if we go back one step, you said you had lots of hobbies and interests and all sorts of stuff, and I know over the last little while you've done quite a few talks and fraternals and stuff like that. What would you say to the busy father who's busy, particularly with ecclesial life? Because ecclesial life seems like we are serving the Lord, but we're perhaps not looking at our family as much as what we should, and concentrating on our hobbies or our ecclesial life or whatever more. What would you say to the father there?
First thing I would say to that is check out Family Matters when Robert and Sharon are interviewed, and they talk to us about burnout, where Robert was overdoing the ecclesial life and it was taking over the family.
I don't think that was in the script.
Click on the link
below.
Click on the link below, and you'll get there. You guys really sum that up with your experience for sure. And I honestly believe that the ecclesial work can get it can become quite a burden. It's quite an ask to be able to prepare for talks when you've got kids running around at your feet, when you really, what you should be doing. You should be focusing on them, making sure that you've given them their time. So it is really hard to balance that. And I think fathers who are in the middle of it, especially if you've got young children, perhaps their load should be decreased for sure. Yeah.
I think that like the very essence of being a disciple is to love for me, to love my husband and my kids. Well, love God. It kind of needs to go God, husband, kids, and then everyone else. And I think that
very wise.
That is your role. That is what it is. So yeah, it's really important to remember there's kind of no point in getting that order. When you get that order all mixed up, I think you can run into a bit of trouble. So I mean Darren and I, we love supporting the ecclesia. We love our ecclesia. We like going when there's an event on. We'll often it's kind of well, who's going to go? Is it you or me? We'd both like to go, but yeah, at the same time, you need to check in that things are going good at home. First, there's little point in me going out at night if Darren's stressed out and you're walking out and all the kids are crying and the house is a mess and he's got lots of stuff to do. It's even if you're going to do something really good, it's you just have to think about it, and you have to talk about it and communicate that as well. and check in with each other a lot and go, is this okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about
both roles are very important. But
right.
yeah, I think it's. I agree with you. You know, it's really important to get the priorities right. And I mean, even Paul said to Timothy, you know, if you're choosing elders, said make sure they're the sort of people that are bringing up their family well first, before they become servants in the ecclesia. And if you're not doing that at home, well, there's no point even looking after another family.
Yeah, I think it's just like remembering that it's a high calling, and it's the very essence of why we're here is to, is to raise your family. And yeah, it may not be glamorous, and yeah, there's lots of things about parenting that can be quite mundane actually, like nappies and toileting and that kind of thing, dishes, picking up toys, but
it doesn't sound glamorous at all, really.
No, yeah, it's not that glamorous. Yeah, there's other things that are a lot more glamorous than that, but yeah, but it's so important at the same time.
I was going to say about the exhorting in that, which is something that I had in my head before this all went down. That was more of somewhere I wanted to head in terms of purpose, and I was putting. I had that as more of a purpose than being a father, you know.
Right.
And so, that this story is definitely a story of shifting of focus for sure, because I had to shift from that. I had to really kind of go, no, being up front and center on the platform, a glamorous place to be, is actually not my place right now. And I had to come to that, and that's hard for my pride, man, because I wanted to be up there. I really enjoy doing the odd exhort here and there, and I admit
totally understand you, Darren.
Yeah, hey, it's great times. Everyone goes, oh yeah, good exhort or whatever, and you get all this feedback, and it's so good. You don't get that as a dad, I'm telling you now.
Right.
So when Lacey was born, I got dropped from the plan, and no one even asked me, really, essentially. And this is what someone decided that they'd do. You know, it was really nice of them, actually. And normally we do a few more exhorts per. So basically, I went down to one exhort per 6 months. So Lacey's 2 years old now. So that's four exhorts, right, at PK. But do you know how many exhorts I've done at PK?
I think one lately, wasn't it?
Yep. So I did one a while back, and that was it. So there has been some unusual events in my life when it comes to my speaking, and my speaking role has been stripped, and it's almost unexplainable, although I can explain it. So unusual how this role has been stripped. I was set to do Easter camp in 2020. COVID came along, boom, gone. And this is still going on. So there's still unusual events happening, pulling me from the platform and taking me back home to be with my family. And yeah, it's been really, really tough for my pride. I said that, and I am now much more at peace with that, actually.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah, it's really interesting how that whole system worked.
Yeah. Well, this has been a thoroughly inspiring, absolutely riveting session. We've thoroughly enjoyed your sharing. It has been very much from the heart. We have thoroughly enjoyed your showing us from the Hebrew what the individual roles are, the father and the mother, and love those pictures. They're just beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there any just last comments you'd like to just put out there for dads who want to just be able to really step into this role and embrace it wholeheartedly?
For the dad who wants to be a better father.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So first thing I'd say is check out a lot of the videos on Family Matters, because I wasn't going to come on today and go, this is what I've been doing and this is what I do now, and all the examples of this is how you be a better dad, because I don't really have that. It's really just, I'm just shifting in my mind now how to do that and how that's going to look. And so on Family Matters, we've had some great stuff already. And one of the very first ones was Andrew and Naomi. They talked about have a relationship with your kids. And that one stuck with me. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's a good one. Maintain a relationship with your kids. How do you have a relationship with your kids? It's all about time spent and quality time, and sacrificing your own jobs and being with them so that they get to know you, and so that they value the relationship that you have with them. So you want them to be able to value that, so that you are really important to them, and so that they will look up to you and respect you. And yeah, a bit like us and God, right?
Yeah, if things are going, if you're in a really good space with your relationship with God, you don't want to do anything to upset him. You're just charging towards him, and that's kind of where the direction you want your kids going. You want them looking at you going, oh, I value this connection, this relationship so much. I mean, of course, they're still going to make mistakes and things, but yeah, I once heard a saying that from somewhere, that someone said that children don't remember specific events so much in their childhood. So like if you think back in your own childhood, there's not heaps and heaps of things you can remember specifically, but they do remember a feeling, like an overall feeling. And so, yeah, it's not about doing like the big things with your kids, although those are nice too, but it's just about all those little connections that you make, so that when your children look back on their childhood or think about their relationship with you, overall they can see that this is a good thing, that, you know, my parents always had time for me, or they always, that feeling that you get, and that starts even from a baby, you know. Yeah, like later in life, people just have this memory of whether, you know, how they felt. Did they feel safe and loved as a child, or and listened to? You just kind of know if you were or not.
Just the other day, just quickly, Hudson did something that probably warranted, you know, a stern telling off and maybe some discipline. But I was thinking about this idea of having a relationship with him and hoping that he thinks he has a relationship with me. So I tried it out and I said to him, Hudson, that really hurt my feelings. Instead of going off at him or sending him to his room or whatever you do, which is what we tend to normally do, we tend to go fear-based or punishment-based. I said, that hurt my feelings, Hudson. That's not what we do in this house, do we? You know, I don't like that. And then, man, that affected him more, because I'd never said anything like that before him. And he dropped his bottom lip and he sort of just walked away. And I really felt like I got to him just by saying a real simple thing that hurt me. And so that was really valuable for me to experience that, because I honestly feel like that's us and God. We can hurt his feelings, and we want to serve him and not hurt his feelings, basically.
Yeah, I'd probably just, like, the only other thing I'd add to a good thing, I mean, and it's for all of us really, is that sometimes, like, as like mothers, you know, we sit around and go, oh, how do we teach our children this, or how do we teach them this characteristic or that characteristic? And I think that the answer for anyone, like fathers, because this is about fathers, but actually mothers or any person actually, is to make sure that you're reading the Bible, like getting into a good routine of Bible reading and personal prayer, because what goes in is what is going to come out. So I just think that's really important. Like, you can't expect to be able to show them God, for them to see God in you, if you're not putting it in.
If you're not getting filled with God and his word yourself.
Learning from the best.
Exactly.
The best way to go. Well, thank you so much, both of you. It's been really awesome to have you on tonight. And you've got a great story, and I'm inspired. I know there's plenty of others who will be inspired as well. So yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, like as Sharon said earlier, you know, those words in the Hebrew and the example of Amram, and you know, it all just builds together to show the real importance of being a dad, and being that dad. You know, not just being a father, but actually living out that role. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. All right, thank you for inviting us on, and thank you for your encouragement in this this little journey of ours